What is the biggest butterfly effect in the world history that ever happened? In 1894, a priest rescued a child from drowning in the Passau River. The child later grows up to be the Chancellor of Germany and the prime instigator of WW2. Adolf Hitler. Oops. Some meteor in the 4th century. Constantine was battling to take control of Rome, and before the final major battle he saw a meteor fly through the sky he claimed was a trophy from God. Then his massively outnumbered army won the battle. Constantine became emperor and passed the Edict of Milan, which led to the explosion of Christianity. So much of European and global history can be traced back to this moment. Constantine himself was a polytheistic pagan Roman, as were the two others vying for the throne in this Roman civil war. But the Christian sect was growing. Constantine played politics and attempted to stand out from the other two. And as is custom for pagans, "My God is better than your God" was the usual trash talk of the day. Save that Constantine was able to tap into this amazing religious ferocity of "My one God is better than your entire pantheon." This, coupled with that darn comet plus some great military actions, helped move him to the popular victorious lead. Constantine converted to Christianity on his deathbed, more than a decade after claiming God as his one true God. Gavrilo Princip just so happened to be in the right place, right time to assassinate Franz Ferdinand. Leads to WW1. Crippling Germany in the Treaty of Versailles. Leads to the rise of Hitler. Then WW2. The borders of nations, allowing the USSR to move into Europe, etc. One guy just happens to be there when the driver made a wrong turn. I mean, Princip was part of the crew that wanted Ferdinand dead. He wasn't simply just eating a sandwich. While he wasn't one of the leaders plotting it out and the car deviated from its path. I just don't want people to think that Princip took a bite of his lunch, wiped his hands on his pants and go, "You know what? Yeah, today I'm gonna do a thing." It was premeditated. Star Trek is why Obama became president. Star Trek hired Jerry Ryan to be 7 of 9. Her husband refused to move to LA, so they divorced messily. When he was running for office, people dug up stuff about the divorce as it's public record. He had to drop out and his opponent, running for the first time, won. That was Barack Obama. And if you remember, he rose pretty rapidly in the ranks from there. Brazil right now. Back in 2013, people started protesting against the rising of the bus fare. Those protests led to the rise of extremist politicians. Now we have an idiot who constantly flirts with authoritarian policies as a president. During this pandemic, he lost 2 health ministers because they did not want to say chloroquine was an effective drug. Stopped reporting the death toll of corona victims. I bet he will try a coup d'etat before the end of his term, monsieur. I hate him. And hate even more the idiots who voted for him, monsieur. He has always been a useless, lying piece of shit. I don't understand how people expected him to be a savior. Don't forget all the infants born dead or deformed because of illegal pesticides. Then tried to blame it on mosquitoes. Laugh, cries an American. The shooting of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Close. The lunch the killer ate. You see, the assassination attempt was called off after a failed first try. Then when the assassin Gavrilo Princip was getting lunch, the Archduke's motorcade made a wrong tune down the street where he just happened to be. So the assassin took his shot and the rest is in fact history. How strange our world is, where choosing to eat some lunch leads to so much death. Close, but it's actually the person who opened a restaurant in that very spot. But the idea of a public restaurant dates back to the French Revolution, after all the royal chefs were out of work. Which happened because the American Revolution was successful. Which happened because Britain existed. Therefore WW1 was caused by Czechs, some fish that wanted to eat the plants on land. Mongol expansion leading to centuries of bubonic plague. For the historically unaware, how are these two things correlated? The Mongols threw infected bodies into European fortresses, spreading the plague. Supposedly, the survivors of the Italian village the Mongols were catapulting infected corpses into managed to sail away. They loaded up on boats, unaware of their infection, and sailed off in many directions. When all aboard died, ships full of dead bodies washed up on beaches throughout Europe. Those ships were raided by thieves and looters, who unknowingly carried off the plague with their stolen treasure. Those thieves would sell their stolen stuff on the Silk Road, and so on. Whichever New World explorer don't know who, that passed on germs and European diseases to Native American First Nation peoples, which led to 90% of their population being wiped out and therefore unable to resist the colonization and expansion of Europe into North America. It's not only the diseases that made them unable to resist the colonization. The conquistadors also had horses, dogs and firearms the natives never saw before, therefore didn't know how to fight back. Native Americans did have dogs though. Their breeds were different, but they were there. Touché. But I'd put my money on the overwhelming numbers of indigenous North American people who know the terrain and weather. If they had the numbers, they'd learn pretty quickly how to combat the conquistadors. Side note, Carl Urban's Pathfinder movie is more what I'm getting at. Hindu King Hemu was shot in the eye while on the verge of winning his 22nd battle against Islamic invaders. He fell off his elephant and lost the battle to Mughals, which changed Indian history for the next 600 years. That's an epic thing to fall off of after dying. Someone reporting a $20 false bill to the 911 on May 25, 2020. I really hope this is a real turning point and is a butterfly effect for good, real change. The British soldier that spared Hitler's life during WW1, or the priest who saved him from the river, or that it was hot inside the bunker during Operation Valkyrie? I can't win a scratch-off that has like a 1 in 5 chance, but Hitler can survive 2 near-death experiences and an assassination attempt. The person that called police on George Floyd, and the person that ate the bat in China. Who would have thought a fake $20 bill costs so much? Let's hope it'll eventually pay for equality. When the Ottomans took the Middle East in the 15th century, it ultimately resulted in the Portuguese controlling trade entirely around the continent of Africa, which led to Columbus's expeditions, which led to North America as we know it. If it weren't for the Ottomans deciding Europe didn't need spices, Europeans might have never looked for faster routes in India, and thus no colonization of the Americas. Greater than Ottomans. Pokemon. Kim Kardashian is famous because the Buffalo Bills lost the Super Bowl. You're close. They lost the final game of the season on purpose to draft OJ, which brought him to Western New York, in which he met Nicole Brown, and then yes, the rest is history. In the year 312, ahead of an imminent battle, Emperor Constantine had a dream in which he was instructed to paint the first 2 letters of Christ's name in Greek on the shields of his soldiers. He won the battle, despite being significantly outnumbered, leading him to convert to Christianity, then an underground, fringe sect, and stop the persecution of its followers. Less than 70 years later, Christianity was made the official, and only, religion of the Roman Empire. Difficult to imagine how different things might look today if he never had that trait monsieur. Probably not the biggest butterfly effect, but still impressive. Experiments on Ted Kaczynski. The Dean screamed monsieur if he hadn't have yelled yeah. Perhaps he could have won the nomination, defeated Bush, and been president through 2012. No Obama or Trump presidency. But instead, yeah, quote, I still don't understand how that tanked his career. I'm also a pretty young guy and didn't follow politics in 2004 because I was 4 at the time. Dean was the steam valve candidate in 2004. Like Bernie Sanders was supposed to be in 2016. The establishment didn't want him, but didn't want to alienate the people who would agree with High Monsieur. They let him run, and just waited for an excuse to discredit High Monsieur after that particular rally. We were told that he had screamed at his audience and was a nutcase. Despite complaints from all directions, this became the official story. If it wasn't his scream, they would have found something else. Hitler failing his art exam. Seth MacFarlane getting so drunk, next day was too hungover to take his flight. That flight was one of the 2 planes that crashed into the World Trade Centers. If he had died, we wouldn't have shows such as Family Guy, American Dad, and the later seasons of Johnny Bravo. Yeah, that's crazy. He said he didn't know he was in extreme danger until hours after the fact. Just insane to think about. I think 9/11 had a way of ruining every damn thing. We are such a different world in truly horrible ways since then. 9/11 is directly responsible for the Food Network being awesome. Go on. There was, correct me if I'm wrong, an uptick of people watching the Food Network to get away from the stress plus trauma of 9/11. So they made cozy, relaxed shows about food to help those people and got a bigger budget and etc. etc. Again, I can be wrong, lol. The death of Harambe. As far as I know, Harambe death, pipe. Area 51 raid, pipe. US Iranian war threats, pipe. COVID-19, pipe. Anarchic riots in the US. I might have missed something. The formation of our sun led to millions dead in WW1 and WW2. Some lady ate a fruit that she wasn't supposed to eat and now I can't trust cops. Meteor hit the planet wiping out dinosaurs. Now the planet has these things called humans running around on it. Einstein's equation E equals mc squared. It is what makes nuclear weapons so destructive. And nuclear weapons might very well end civilization as we know it since there are thousands of them in existence. It certainly ended it for the citizens of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There are at least 17 Iraqi warheads primed with nuclear weapons anthrax botulism toxin that weren't recovered and are still missing. Edit. Fixed. Source. Sorry I mixed it up. It's biochem, not nuclear. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.